Welcome everybody back to the Real Estate Deli. I'm your host Mando. I'm Money Making Mando on IG. Again, welcome back to the Real Estate Deli, where we cut through all the noise and deliver actionable insights to you and make the information the star. And again, today we have another star. Her name is Tracy Koa. Welcome, Tracy. Thank you for coming.
What's up, Mando? Thanks for having me. I love it.
I,
It's
I,
fantastic.
Again, appreciate you coming on. We worked out some technical difficulties and
That's
how
right.
the light works, how the mic works, all this stuff that we all
Always.
try to figure out, and we just gotta plow through it and
That's right.
just keep on keeping on, as I say, right? So
That's it. Just
and then,
rolling through it.
yeah, and then the universe kind of provides us the answers if we just be a little patient and we're here now. So I appreciate you
That's
coming on, Tracy. Appreciate
a
you.
pleasure.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
appreciate
I love, like I said, I've been highlighting women recently on my page because again, they have a voice, and sometimes in an industry such as real estate, their voices might get drowned out because it's such an ego-driven, male-driven industry. And I've just been purposeful to be able to kind of showcase the women in the industry. That's kind of my service to the community as well. So
Yeah,
I
so
appreciate you.
grateful about that, really, because it's so true. And I think for women, it takes a minute to get your grounding amongst so many men. And I'm a you know me, I'm like outgoing and no problem. But there's so many women I meet that they're just uncomfortable. They're not, a lot of just they're uncomfortable and it takes a minute. So it's really nice for you to put the focus on women and kind of get our voices out there. Thank you.
Yeah, again, you need a guy there saluting you and holding you down, and then you get comfortable. You just feel more comfortable, and so I could do this, right? So just giving a pep in their step, right? So I appreciate that as well, Tracy. So let's get into some real estate talk, right?
Do it.
So let's talk about what are you doing in real estate? What are you working on? What are some of your successes that you had lately? Share some with with our audience, please.
Yeah, of course. So I do a couple different things. I'm into co-living and also buy and holds and a private money lender.
Awesome.
So, private money lending is an interesting journey. And I've had so many great successes just building relationships, lending with other people, and watching our businesses grow together is probably my favorite part. And I would say, aside from the money, I mean, it's the coolest thing to watch somebody. Let's say you're lending to a flipper. I don't want to be a flipper. I flipped. I don't love it. I don't want to be a flipper. But for the people who that's their passion, to be able to support them and watch their business grow while at the same time building my business, it's just such a true win-win. And it feels really cool. So that's probably one of my favorite parts about being a lender, really. And yes, you can make some good money. A lot of work. I think people get into it and just think, oh yeah, I'm going to like lend this money and, be a baller before you know it. It doesn't necessarily work that way.
Yep.
But time and effort, patience, a lot of relationship building, and you can get there. And buy and holds, I only buy creative. And, you talk to people that maybe are new in real estate or they've been doing it, but traditionally, and they go, yeah, right. What a scam. I've heard that before. Oh, you can buy
Right.
money, no money down. It is true.
Yeah.
My partners and I, we purchased first quarter, we purchased a multifamily
Mhm.
seller finance just across the beach on Oahu in Hawaii, where I have other properties. And, it was a phenomenal opportunity. We were able to offer the seller very close to his asking price. Had been on the market forever and he was dying
Mm.
and super excited. We had a great wholesaler in the middle who did a phenomenal job just negotiating for us. We went back and forth for quite some time. Seller finance has, as opposed to sub two, it is what it is for the most part. There's not too much to negotiate, but seller finance is different. And we had a really great time and built a great relationship with the seller actually in the process, because we wanted to make sure that it was successful for him. And at the same time, the numbers had to work for us. So worked all that out, put very little down, long balloon, great interest rate. We were able to get it rehabbed really quickly. And we got a multi-family, like a multi-generational family upstairs, a young couple downstairs, military family. They recently got I don't know the word in the military, but there's a word when you get kind of orders and you have to go somewhere else.
Deployment.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. And they had like a couple weeks. And so, of course, we let them out of their lease, no big deal. And what's so cool is we were able to bring in the family living upstairs, some more of their family below. And there's a staircase between the two. And so it's just like, to me, there's no better situation when you can bring families together that want to support and live together. I'm all about the multi-generational living. So we're super excited that we're able to do that. It's really just a great opportunity for all of us. So I would say that recently that's my most exciting win, and just seeing that transition is cool.
I love to hear that. I love, when families get to stick together, right? It's just so awesome if you have that opportunity, right?
100%.
So that's great. You did mention that the seller was dying, right? If I'm correct, you said it.
No, sorry, dying in the property.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah. No, dying within, like, just they'd been vacant for so long.
Okay.
And yeah, I should have been more clear about that.
No,
No,
because I had a
he's not
follow-up. I
dying.
was like, how is this person, if he's dying, gonna get paid, and who gets paid, right?
Right,
So,
right. That's a
so
great point. No,
so I was just trying to follow up to see how does this work now? This is
Yeah.
a curveball here thrown into this
Right,
equation.
right.
So,
That would have been tricky.
so
Yeah,
that's interesting to know, though, since I brought it up, to know how would that work, right? If
yeah,
something were to occur, right? Does a
yeah.
family member gets paid, or how does that work, right? So that's
We actually talked to him about that, though. It's interesting you bring that up, because we wanted to make sure if something did happen that we wouldn't run into, say, for example, a family member coming along and saying, no, my dad wasn't in his right mind, or whatever the case may be, and fight it. So we actually made certain that that was, part of the conversations. And typically what we've seen is what happens is the seller, you make sure that it's in their trust, right? So that it just rolls into their trust. And because it's tied up in the trust, there really isn't a lot. Somebody can fight anything. Obviously, we know that. But you're pretty rock solid at that point, because it's like, it's a contract held within his trust. It's pretty rock solid in there. So
yeah, that's great contingencies to have if you do have
yeah,
a trust, let's say. So
yeah,
be mindful of that, whoever's listening. Those are some cheat codes there. And let's get into some of that PML.
yeah.
What type of PML deals do you do? How do you source them? How do you vet them? Or do you have a niche, or what's your style?
Yeah, for sure. I've done it all, and I'm now kind of hyper focused on certain things. When we started, and I say we, my partner Pam Mullen and I really started this private money journey together. We're huge about building relationships. We know that that's the key to life. It's certainly the key to real estate. So when we first got going, we really made a point to get on calls and Zooms with people and get to know each other. And you know right off the bat if you're going to jive with this person. And so we started to sort of build this bucket of relationships that we really felt connected to these people. And then we would talk with them more and more and get to know them on a more intimate level. And that's how we kind of got started. Originally, we just wanted to learn how to lend appropriately for our own self. That was it. But because we were just naturally building these relationships, we actually started doing a little bit of connecting, where we had these relationships with borrowers, these relationships with lenders, and we would try to bring two people together that we felt would work well. It both met their needs, and hopefully the goal is that things go great and they just take that relationship on their own moving forward and just can watch each other's businesses flourish. And so we did that for quite some time. I'd say probably 6-8 months. And we don't do it anymore. It just wasn't our jam. It's a lot of work. Not that afraid of hard work, but the outcome, right? The numbers at the end of the day just didn't make sense for how much work. Yes, you might make a few thousand on a deal that you've put together, but like how many deals did you look at, over the month, and does it really work? And it really didn't. Done everything from gap funding, EMD, 2-3 month hold, 6 months to long-term, annualized, 6 months, 10 months, a year, to private money partnerships. So everywhere in between. I would say been burned. I'm just going to say, if you're going to get into lending, it's an amazing opportunity. There's so many great opportunities out there to grow your wealth. And you have to be so cautious, so cautious. You will lose money. You cannot think that you're not going to. You have to go into it very cautiously. So I would say that can lead me to the vetting part. And that's the key. Pamela and I started a Tuesday Zoom for women because we had a lot of women. We're in another network that's primarily, or not primarily, is all women. And they would come to us. They knew we were involved in private money lending. They would come to us and say, can you help me look at this deal? I'm getting ghosted by the borrower. They would have nothing. They'd have maybe a personal guarantee. There was no lien recorded. Money was not sent through title. I mean, just a mess. So we started doing this Zoom, and we just said, let's get on. Let's just share our mistakes. So we talk about wins, but it's really more geared toward, here's this new mistake I made. Here's this new thing I learned.
Sure.
Just, we want to help people. But that's what it boils down to, is the underwriting and the vetting, and not being afraid to ask the hard questions, not being afraid to push back as a lender. We actually do a Monday and Tuesday Zoom through Gator. Pamela and I hold the Friday, and our friends Ryan and Keola the Monday. And it's based around, it's called Confident Conversations. And it's really talking about being a connector, building relationships that are really authentic so you can get to know the people, and then being confident enough so you can have those hard conversations when people push back. There's a lot of pushback. We have an entire process we work through. It is very clear, strategic. We do not veer from that. And if a borrower comes and says, that's so much information, or I don't have that, we just go, hey, that's cool, man, but it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
End of story. Yeah. So that's really helped us really pass on so many deals that we very well could have funded. I'll give you a quick example.
Sure.
Pamela is such a great sleuth, man. She is like such a good detective. And so we divide and conquer, and I'm looking at, I love the documents, right? So I'm looking at the LLC and the operating agreement and making sure that's all tidy, because that's so important. That's a piece people miss a lot. If that operating agreement, you have to make sure that the person signing for the loan actually has the right to sign for the loan. If you don't check that operating agreement, you don't know if it's a single or multi-member. If it's multi-member, there could be 4 other people on that operating agreement that all have to agree. We've caught people, one of the members trying to take out a loan against a property that's owned by 4 people, and the 4 people had no idea that this person was trying to do that. So, but Pam, one time, she's diving into the contractor, right? And she's looking at the license, and down on the very bottom of the license is the issue date. And the issue date hadn't actually come yet. So she's like, So first thing, she calls the county that the license was issued, or the state board. And they're like, oh, no, that license expired 2 months ago because they couldn't provide a proof of insurance. So we call the borrower and we're like, hey, we're giving him the opportunity to just tell us, right? But he lies through the whole thing, right? And we're like, dude, I go, we can't work with you. You're lying. All you had to do was say, hey, here's my license. it's expired. We're having trouble getting the insurance, but I'm on it. Which he was like, I'm on it. I promise. We're like, yeah, it's too late now. Like, you're just fine.
Duh. You know what I'm saying? We were waiting for you to say this prior to me bringing it up, guy.
Right. So,
Yeah.
it's fun because you're building relationships, you're learning a lot. It's really making you think creatively. And it's time consuming and hard at times if you're doing it properly, if you really want to secure yourself. So I've started to diversify a lot more. I always talk to newer gators about that. We come in like pie in the sky. I'm just gonna lend on EMD. I'm like, hey, what's your lending box? EMD and double close. I'm like, yes. So we all would love a great EMD. So what else until you build relationships to get your EMD? And they're like, nothing. I'm like, all right, good luck with that. But obviously EMD is a wonderful opportunity. Still have to vet, lots of pieces to vet within an EMD. So don't think it's just a one and done and wire your funds. Still do a little bit of Gator, that short term or gap funding, I should say, but also love a good fund and syndication. Amazing if you can find people that have the experience. And then those long-term 12 months or so annualized return, you're still getting 10, 12%. That's amazing. I'm only getting, 4.8 in my savings account. I'll take 12 all day. And you can find people more experienced with a longer track record in that game as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that your approach, and obviously the mistakes have made you get sharper, and you taking that ruler approach, what I call that. You're kind of reading each line rule, you know what I'm saying? You just move that ruler
Yeah,
down and
that's right,
literally,
baby.
right, and read it one by line by line by line by line to find where the hiccups are, right?
That's it.
Right, especially when you're lending money. It could be your money or someone else's money, whatever it is. You're still lending cash out to someone, whatever it is, and if it's not the right person, you best believe you're going to lose that money, right? And she's
That's right.
telling through experiences that these things happen, and some people are not as truthful as you would expect them to be. And sometimes we set our own expectations, thinking that everyone's kind of an honest operator, as I would
Yeah.
assume you are, right? And that kind of leads us into the wrong direction and not really doing the work to really vet someone, right?
Yeah.
And right, and then we get caught up in wanting to make a deal for the sake of making a deal, and
Yes.
you're right, and now you're in a deal, and then they're ghosting you, as you said, and now what? Now
That's
you
right.
have a
And now
headache,
what?
and now you have a real headache in your hand, and now you have to really problem solve, and
Yeah.
you might not get your money returned, and you might be burned so bad that you might be burned out the industry, period, that you don't
That's
even
right.
want to deal with this any longer, right?
That's right.
So sometimes your best deal is no deal at all,
I
right?
love that you say that. We meet, and I've not heard this from men, and maybe just because they haven't said it, women tend to be more vulnerable. So many of the women we work with will say, I knew I shouldn't do this, but I felt bad. I didn't want to let the borrower down. I told them I would lend on it. And I don't care how you obviously, I would never leave a borrower at the table last minute for no reason.
Sure.
But I don't care if it's 2 days before closing. If something comes up like this license, for example, we were
Yep.
very close. The numbers, this was an amazing opportunity. The numbers were fantastic. Guy had great experience. We were so close to closing. I'm sorry, like that is a drag. Absolutely. But you have to, if your gut is telling you something's wrong, you have to follow through. Ask the questions, push back, figure out what it is. And if it's not going to work, you got to walk away. You just have to.
Yeah, that no is an important word to have in your language, right? To be is a
That's right.
tool. It's actually a tool that you can use at any point. You could pull that sucker out and be like, no,
Love that.
I can't do it for these reasons, right? And
Right.
unfortunately, this deal can't. We can't progress in this again. And you have to protect. You have to protect yourself, your partners, however it is. It's
That's
just
right.
too much to lose on, right? So always remember, no's your best friend at any time. Obviously, there's times where you can't, right? But before that hard, that hard stop, make sure you always have that option, because again, you never know what could happen, and you could get ghosted, and then what, right?
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, you said you have encountered some of these situations. Can you share? You mind sharing some of
Oh,
these
love it.
experiences, some of these failures, and how you picked yourself up from these?
100%. I love sharing. Of course, I love sharing wins, but I actually prefer sharing the mistakes I made because I really want people to learn from my mistakes, especially when it comes to lending money.
For sure.
One of our very first deals, so Pam and I, our very first deals, oh man, we were like, whoo, you know, we were riding the wave and we just lent some money and that went good. And thankfully, we had the most amazing connector. He really walked us through what we call our best and our worst, or our worst and our best. So, beautiful property, North Carolina. I think it was valued at 3 million. The woman was turning it into co-living, and it was a 60-day loan. I forget how much we lent. Probably, I think it was close to 100 together. And there was tons of equity. I think the hard money loan was only 2 million. So she had all this equity. So we were like, yeah, this is super great. And she had all her ducks in a row. It was really easy to work with her right out of the gate. She provided all the documents we wanted. However, this was back in the beginning. So we didn't ask for as much as we do today. I will tell you that with the list of what we asked for is probably quadrupled since then. But for what we thought we needed at that point, it was right on. Things went great, and it's getting close to her paying us back, and she's starting to get more quiet. We're not hearing from her. The connector again was fantastic. So he was a communicator, which was really, and he got paid at close. He could have just walked away. He didn't need to do this, but he did. He stepped in. He was the middleman in the communication, which I want to say is such a helpful tool. If you're listening to this and you want to become a connector, or you are, that was such an amazing piece because he was able to take the emotion out. So I might talk to him and be like, I'm so fired up. And the bar might be like, I'm fired up. If we were talking together, that could have gone the wrong way.
Yeah.
Where he was like, yep, I hear you. Yep, I hear you. And was able to bring back the conversation without the emotion. Super helpful. So he started getting in touch. And so it turned out her refi fell through because her appraisal came in too low. By the way, happens all the time. That's why we want to make sure that there's other exit strategies. So she was going to be late. She was getting a reappraisal, hoping that it would be higher, and working to find other hard money lenders at this point. And so what was interesting is her attitude dramatically changed. You're going to find this, guys. Your borrower might be amazing when you're in the courting period and they're like trying to get your money.
Right.
As soon as it goes south, man, watch out. And so again, she was ghosting us quite a bit. It went to the point that we had to hire an attorney in North Carolina. And she helped us serve, the order that basically told her it's called a demand notice, let her know we are demanding this money back.
Wow.
And it really clues in the borrower, we're done messing around. We're ready to go. We're ready to go toe to toe. Comes from an attorney. They know. So at this point now, Pamela and I are like, shoot, we had a deed in lieu, which is super cool, but we're like, we might have to take the property. What are we going to do? So we're reaching out to realtors, right? We're going, what does this look like? If we had to fire sale it, can you help us make sure our comps are right? We're trying to build a relationship with a couple of realtors. We're starting to look deeper and more closely at what are the holding costs? Okay, so we're new. We're just looking at the equity and how cool it is that there's like almost $1 million in equity. We hadn't looked at the mortgage we knew the mortgage, but we hadn't calculated the fact that it was a $7,000 month mortgage, which we would now be responsible for.
Wow.
The HOA was over $1,000. We're thinking about utilities, trash, maintenance, all the things that we're going to have to take on, whether or not we want to hold it or sell it. Doesn't matter. It's going to be 2-3 months, no matter what you're doing.
For sure.
And so Pam and I are like, we don't have that kind of money. holy cow. And even if we did, you don't want to sink that kind of money into a property. That just pauses your game for whatever else you're doing.
Yeah, man.
So again, best deal because we were so fortunate. We got paid back our principal, our return, and shockingly, our late fees. So the woman pulled through, even though she got a little sassy in between, even though she ghosted us, even though, you know, we thought this is never going to work out. It did. I think those results are few and far between.
Yeah.
I think once you get to that point, you're sending a demand notice. Very often the borrower, things are not going to come through. But she pursued because she was so passionate. So this is something I learned. She was so passionate about her mission. She was doing co-living. She actually had a nonprofit. It was for vets. So she was so passionate that she was like, I am going to make this work come hell or high water. And she did. She pursued the getting the reappraisal. I think she had to get 2. She pursued finding new hard money lenders, and she did not want her name to get soiled. So when you're looking to build a relationship with borrowers, hopefully you're looking to have a long-term relationship with borrowers. You're really looking at the passion, the drive of your borrower. What happens if it goes upside down? Are they the kind of person that's going to be, whatever, I'll just, bankrupt my LLC, no biggie. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing that she was able to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Like,
She, like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, right? That's
serious rabbit. Yeah.
right. And I don't know. I think because she was a woman, I just don't know. I think if it was a guy, I don't know. I feels like I don't, that I don't think he would have just been a persevere through it. I'm just generalizing, obviously, but I think the lady's perspective, maybe you said, and she had a mission, right? And she just kind of was persistent, like a Wolverine, and she kind of pulled it through, right? And whatever she did, what appraisals or hard money lenders, she pivoted, and obviously she knew she had some pressure on with the lawyer, right? And I'm sure she wasn't comfortable either, and she kind of proved herself somewhat.
She really did.
Have you ever then done other businesses with this person again, or would you consider doing business with this person again, or just even though she pulled through?
It's not that I wouldn't necessarily, but I think the relationship is hard to repair.
Okay.
Because of the lack of communication. I have had other deals go south, and because the borrower has communicated so well, and because sometimes these things are out of our hands. When your only exit strategy is to refinance and the market shifts and you're no longer able to get the ARV that you had thought you would, sometimes that's out of your hands,
Mm-hmm.
And I really thought she was going to get the ARV. She really thought. So in the case where I've had borrowers that they're just on it, man, and they're so communicative and they're coming to me before I have to come to them. That's a relationship I would lend to again, potentially. With her, probably not necessarily, because I didn't love, there was a minute of like this attitude from her, like, I'm trying my best, what do you want? And it's like, I know you are. However, you still got to communicate. This is a really rough situation.
Yes.
But again, I do think women, we have, we tend to be a little softer. We tend to have a little bit more empathy at times. And we do have like a really strong ability to just push through things. Not that men don't, but come on, we give birth, like, give me a break.
That's the epitome of pushing.
That's right, baby.
Right?
It is.
Yeah. So again, right, you have something extra that we might not notice, but you do have it, right?
Maybe, I don't know, but
right?
yeah.
And guys measure strength differently, right? It's like lifting or something, right? So
that's right.
Right. So, but they don't know that internal fortitude, let's say, that a woman has. It doesn't kind of show it outwardly, right?
Yeah.
But did you think that this was a new experience? You were kind of newbies, and you did mention this ARV was an issue. did you properly vet those numbers in regards to the ARV? Because those things that seemed to be a sticking point. Did you
Yeah.
think you could have did better, or you just thought you were on point with the numbers? And
Yes,
you go into
super
that?
great question. Yeah, and ARV, I will say, since then I've learned, I love, if you don't know Alexis and Abraham, you really should check them out. I learned from them, and now I do this differently, right? So I look more at the today's value, right? But ARV still plays a big part, of course. And I would say, yeah, I was newer, right? So I definitely could have done better. What I do now is I actually hire somebody that I know that's solid. Like all they do is underwriting. If you don't
That's
know
right.
Aaron Garcia, amazing guy, love to work with him. And he's somebody, if I'm on the fence, I'm going to reach out and say, Aaron, could you take a look at this for me? I want to make sure I'm spot on.
Okay.
Building relationships outside of your own, network is how, when I say network, like your partnership. So like Pam and I, again, building relationships outside of just us so that there's more people to look at a deal when you're working it, especially when you're newer. ARV is still, I think, a tough thing today. And it is something that, if you're refinancing or you're going to, you're looking at long-term debt, like a DSCR loan, and you're counting on the ARV, you really have to be mindful. So, and this was a tough one too. It was a, multi-million-dollar home. So always in those bigger projects, there's never a ton of comps available.
That's right.
So you are sometimes making your best estimate. But again, now I would do it totally different. I would bring somebody on. I'd bring somebody on that knows that market. If I didn't have a relationship with a realtor, I would get into our sub 2 community, which is why our community is so amazing. I could make a post, say, hey, are you a realtor in North Carolina? I need help running comps on this. I'm going to get 10 messages
Yes.
at least in an hour, right? Of
Yeah.
realtors in the area that want to help. They're not out to make money. They're just out to help.
Go
And that's
givers.
total go givers. That's what makes our sub 2 community the best in the world. 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's why I asked, because you did mention a couple times. So I was thinking maybe that was a sticking point that, that wasn't matching obviously with the hard money lender and you guys and
Yep.
her expectations. And that makes and breaks a deal, literally,
100%.
right? From the onset. And being a newbie, again, you don't want to go through these struggles. So I love the pivot that you brung on. You found your who's and not how's, right? I say
That's right.
what you found is like, who can do this at a that has more expertise than me and are local to the area as well, that I
Yeah,
can
that
have
makes a big difference.
right, that I can have a solid fundamental comp that I can then move forward, and then I can verify it if it needs to be a reappraise or whatever. Listen, this is right. So you have kind of a professionals on your team as well. So that's
100%.
right. So that's a great way to have those experiences and be
Yeah.
able to climb out out the ditches, let's say, of with these struggles, right? Because you start a new venture and you kind of sometimes you just don't know everything, right?
Right. You don't.
And you're trying to play, you try to do the best you can.
That's right.
And again, and you always have to get better, right? Just so I see how you did get better, right? So
Thank
that's
you.
awesome.
Because it
Again,
doesn't matter. Sorry, it doesn't matter how hard you work, right? You could start a new venture and you could work 20 hours a day. If you don't have other people to check in with, to bounce ideas off of, to learn from, to gauge where you're at, you will never succeed. I'm sorry. Like, I can't imagine how you could. Maybe you could. I shouldn't say never, but I cannot imagine how you could succeed that way. I couldn't do what I do without all the people in my community that help me every day. I must reach out to 10 or more people every single day, checking in, asking a question, getting support, giving support. And it's how you do it. And I feel so much more confident in my decisions as a result of that.
that's awesome. And your two heads is better than one, since you have a partner. So right,
100, yes,
right?
100%.
So that you're building off each other and honing each other's skills, right? Which is great to have a partner in that way and grow together in that
It's huge.
space. So
Yeah.
I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Tracy, let's do some vision casting. Let's look
Let's
into
do
the
it.
future, and let's go work on the makings of a hero, I call it. What is it that your passions, what is it, your visions, where you envision yourself and your business in the next 3 to 5 years, and how are you going to get there?
Oh boy, I love that. Well, obviously I'd like to continue lending money myself. And like I had said before, definitely diversifying more, which is I feel really happy about and excited about. It's not to say it's less work, but it's different work, right? Underwriting, embedding. So I'm excited about that. Of course, I'm very passionate, as you know, about co-living. I want to continue to get buy and holds. I have a big connection to Hawaii. Lived there on and off since I was young, and one of the things I love is buying properties in places like Hawaii where there's a huge Airbnb market, and just absolutely disrupting that model, renting to locals at or just below market value, doing co-living, or especially in Hawaii, being able to do multi-generational living. So buying larger homes, and maybe we're not going to break it up into, individual rooms, but being open to the idea that it is okay to have more people than might seem normal in a home. Right. And so just being open to that and supporting families in those kind of situations, and really honoring that that's a tradition in many cultures. So that's really, really important to me. And just also different vulnerable populations, I think is so important as well. Pamela and I work with independent seniors. That's a path that's part of our Mount Everest that we've started down. I love working with teens that have aged out of foster care. I have another podcast story, how that really relates to me, and how I'm so passionate about young adults not living on the streets. And most recently, my partner, Dave, who is also Gator Sub 2, he's an amazing top tier TC. David Tanksley TC, if you need a good TC. But Dave's really passionate and getting started and looking for RV parks. I always dreamed, I was a teacher for 25 years, and I always dreamed of retiring and just bopping around as a campground host, right? We love to camp, tent camp, hike, RV camp, the whole thing. And so Dave recently was like, about a month ago, he goes, "Why are we not doing RV parks again?" And I'm like, "I don't have the time to do it all." And he's like, "Let's go. I'm going to dive in." And so he's been just the last month 100% all in, and it's a very real goal. We've got, again, in our community, amazing people. We reached out to a few of the people that we know and said, "Can you help us? Is this realistic for us with our financial situation, with our time and all these things?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, because we're going to help you. Of course it's realistic. You want an RV park by the end of the year? Not a problem." So I'm excited about that. My daughter graduates high school at the end of this year, and we're just going to be footloose and fancy free. We're going to hop in the RV and cruise around, buy some RV parks, and for the first time in a very, very long time, have complete freedom of my time and be able to just travel, which is what I love. So really exciting to craft my future and to really make the dreams come true that speak really clearly to my lifestyle. So I appreciate you asking. It's exciting.
I love that. I love that you have a vision and you're going for it. You kind of reverse engineering it, and
That's right.
again, all that separates you from getting there is time, right? So
That's it.
you're gonna be there, Tracy. People who want to do business with you, people who want to connect with you, people who want to get to know you, where can they reach you? Is there any websites? Is there any social media handles that you want to express to our audience?
Yeah, thank you. My Instagram is at Tracy Koa. You can also find me, same thing, Tracy Koa on Facebook. And my website is tracykoa.com. Easy peasy.
That's super simple. I love that. You can't avoid, you will not miss Tracy Koa. So get on it, guys and gals.
That's right.
Tracy, I appreciate you for coming on. It's been an honor. Thank you for sharing your time and expressing yourself, obviously. And thank you again, Tracy, for being
It's been a
on.
pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Amanda. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Anytime. You've been awesome. Thank you.